how to fast-track development through regional integration. Nigeria's southwestern states of Oyo, Ogun, Ondo, Ekiti, Osun and Lagos are set to harmonize strategies towards effective agricultural development in the region. In a communique released at the end of a meeting of commissioners of agriculture from the 6 states held in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, participants resolved to create more opportunities for youth and women in the agriculture sector.
States in the southwestern part of Nigeria are known for their agricultural produce, which forms a major part of the federal government's drive for food security. This meeting by the region's commissioners of agriculture was called to harmonize strategies towards developing the sector to achieve much more.
And the possibilities are immense, the possibilities are limitless. How we can harmonize plans, possibly even create institutions and structures to support the efforts that are ongoing in the region.
Through increase in agricultural production and industrialization to ensure food security, which is one of our 5 cardinal programs.
Land administration, standardization of products, and regional approach to explore international market are some of the focal areas. We also identified adequate financing, favorable government policy, training and retraining as key strategies for achieving food security.
Land is one of the major resources that we have. Can we have a common framework in terms of land administration in the southwestern region for agricultural purpose?
Beyond this, it is believed that governors in the region will use the roadmap to provide the necessary political will that will ensure the success of the much thought about regional integration.
Well, tonight we continue our series of end-of-year reports for the year 2013, and this time our focus is on the National Assembly. How has it contributed to the development of the country in the last 1 year? That's perhaps one question you are asking, and as well as many other Nigerians. In this report, we take a look at the defining moments of the National Assembly in 2013.
It started on a slow note, but ended with a bang. That is the story of 2013 in the National Assembly. The year began on a sour note, with the National Assembly and the Executive disagreeing over the 2013 budget. The Executive had objected to some aspects of the budget passed by the National Assembly, such as the zero allocation to the Securities and Exchange Commission. And even when the budget was signed into law, the disagreement continued over the amendment sought by the Executive.
The amendment that is being sought today, Mr. Speaker, I don't know where to classify it based on this provision of the Constitution. To my mind, it is an appropriations bill number 2. We all know in this assembly what an amendment looks like. If the president truly intended that we amend this Appropriation Act, all he needed to do is to bring a signed copy of the one he has done, and then provide that clause, this should be deleted, this should be inserted here. But that is not the document before us.
In 2013, the National Assembly continued with its review of the 1999 Constitution, with both chambers voting on the areas up for amendment. In the review, the House of Representatives approved local government autonomy, the removal of immunity from prosecution previously enjoyed by the President and state governors, and approved independent candidacy for future elections. In the Senate, lawmakers voted against 6-year single tenure for the executive, local government autonomy, and state police. They, however, approved lifetime pension for presiding officers of the parliament. But one contentious issue overshadowed the whole process. This was the approval of a clause that was interpreted as giving consent to child marriage.
By Islamic law, any woman that is married, she's of age. So if you now say she's not of age, then it means that you are going against Islamic law.
In the year under review, the National Assembly passed the amendment to the 2013 Appropriation Bill, the Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Bill, and the State of the Nation Address Bill. How relevant was the National Assembly in 2013?
Within an equivalent period, I think this Senate has passed far more bills than any other Senate within the same time frame. So in terms of our core constitutional responsibility of legislating, I think we have done well. We have also passed motions on very key subjects.
Things that have come from the executive have been, if you want to look at it, critically analyzed, not with a view to fighting the presidency, as some people try to say, but with a view to making sure that what the presidency or what the executive brings are in line with what we think Nigerian people want.
Awal Musa is the Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center. He says the National Assembly performed poorly in its oversight functions.
The Senate did not really do much in terms of effective oversight. The Public Account Committee in the National Assembly has the responsibility to ensure that they actually get the audited report from the Federation. They have not been playing that role to ensure that whatever money that has been approved under the budget, under the appropriation, is properly accounted for.
The quality of the National Assembly's oversight function is not the only source of worry for some Nigerians.
In terms of lawmaking, we didn't see the 7th Assembly has not really come out with many sunshine laws. We have seen constitutional review, we've seen the people's public session that took place, but in terms of what you will have seen in perhaps the 6th Assembly, where you had things like the Public Procurement Act, FOI, and they have rather been a little bit more in terms of making resolutions that the executive takes for nothing.
Compared to 2012, the National Assembly did not carry out many high-profile investigations. They, however, concentrated on the following: investigating the cause of frequent plane crashes in the country, the controversy that trailed the purchase of 2 bulletproof cars, investigating employment irregularities in government establishments, and the management of the Subsidy Reinvestment and Empowerment Program. Conducting investigations is one thing, the implementation of the recommendations from these investigations is another. But lawmakers say the parliament is not to blame.
The moment we have exposed corruption, inefficiency of waste, we have satisfied what the Constitution expects of us. So when they begin to say nothing has come out of those reports, they are looking in the wrong direction. It is not in our direction that they should be looking at. They should be rather looking at the executive.
When they said resolutions are not law, they're just advice, and you give genuine advice, and the person you have advised have refused to take the advice, that was not stop us, because the Constitution allows us to continue to make our resolution. So we'll keep making the resolution.
When the story of the year 2013 is told, many will remember how the political crisis within the ruling People's Democratic Party seeped into the National Assembly. It even led to a free-for-all in the House of Representatives. The political crisis reached a climax when 37 lawmakers defected from the ruling party to the main opposition party, the All Progressives Congress. Ahead of 2014, this analyst is not confident that federal lawmakers would accomplish much in the coming year.
Unfortunately, it is a period that we are going into election. So many of the National Assembly members, they will be, struggling to go and get party membership, party nomination for their re-election. Therefore, the amount of time they will give to, legislative work is going to be less than the time they have given in 2013.
Nevertheless, in 2014, it will be interesting to see how the balance of power shapes out in the National Assembly, as for the first time in the history of Nigeria, the ruling party does not have majority control in the National Assembly.
And one wonders, would more lawmakers defect from the PDP to the APC, and would the leadership of both chambers be retained? And how would this dynamic affect lawmaking? These are some of the questions hopefully 2014 would answer. I'm Linda Akibe.
I'm Lanre Lasese for Channels Television News.